Hey guys, there's a moment in every person's life when they realize their father, no matter how well-meaning, couldn't teach them everything they needed to know. Not because he didn't want to, but because some truths can only be learned through experience, observation, and the kind of quiet wisdom that doesn't get passed down in family dinners. Tonight, I want to share with you 100 unspoken rules, truths that successful, emotionally intelligent people understand but rarely articulate. Consider this the manual you were never given. Before we begin, take a moment to write in the comments where you're tuning in from. I'm curious to know where these insights will find you tonight. Let's begin. Rule 1. People decide if they like you before you even speak. Within 7 seconds of seeing you, a person's brain has already categorized you as friend or threat, competent or incompetent, trustworthy or suspicious. This isn't conscious. It's happening at a neurological level, rooted in survival mechanisms that kept our ancestors alive. Your posture, facial expression, eye contact, and even the way you carry yourself communicate volumes before you utter a single word. I learned this the hard way during my first job interview out of college. I walked in slouched, avoided eye contact, and gave a weak handshake. The interviewer had mentally dismissed me before I sat down. It didn't matter that I was qualified. My body language had already told the story of someone who didn't believe in themselves. The practical application is simple but profound. Spend 30 seconds before any important interaction consciously adjusting your physiology. Stand tall, soften your facial expression, and remind yourself that you belong in that space. Your body will convince your mind, and your mind will convince others. Rule 2. The person who controls their emotional state controls the interaction. Most people walk into social situations as emotional thermometers, automatically adjusting to match the energy in the room. But the most influential people? They're thermostats. They set the temperature. When you enter a tense meeting and maintain calm confidence, others begin to relax. When you bring genuine warmth to a cold interaction, people start to open up. This isn't manipulation. It's leadership at its most basic level. I once watched a friend completely transform a hostile customer service interaction. Instead of matching the representative's frustration, she spoke slower, softer, with genuine empathy. Within 2 minutes, the rep was apologizing and going out of their way to help. My friend didn't argue her way to a solution. She influenced her way there. Practice this. Before entering any social situation, consciously choose the emotional state you want to bring. Anxious. Take 3 deep breaths and recall a moment when you felt confident. Angry. Remind yourself that you're there to solve problems, not create them. Rule 3. Your reputation precedes you, but your presence overwrites it. Yes, people talk. Yes, first impressions matter. But here's what's liberating. Every single interaction is a chance to redefine how people see you. Your reputation might get you in the room, but your presence determines what happens next. I know someone who was labeled as difficult at work after a few heated exchanges during stressful projects. Instead of accepting this label, he began every meeting by asking thoughtful questions about others' challenges. He'd arrive early to help set up. He'd stay late to clean up. Within 6 months, the same people who'd written him off were seeking his input on important decisions. The key is consistency over time. 1 good interaction doesn't erase a bad reputation, but 10 good interactions start to create doubt about that reputation. 50 good interactions create a new one entirely. If you feel like people have misjudged you, don't waste energy being bitter about it. Channel that energy into being undeniably different from their expectations. Rule 4. Mirroring body language creates instant rapport, but timing is everything. Humans are wired to feel comfortable around people who are similar to them. When someone leans forward, and you naturally lean forward a few seconds later, their unconscious mind registers you as like them. When they speak slowly and you match their pace, they feel heard and understood. But here's the nuance most people miss. The mirroring has to be subtle and delayed. Immediate mirroring feels like mockery. Perfect mirroring feels robotic. The sweet spot is mirroring about 30% of someone's body language with a slight delay. Watch how master negotiators do this. They don't copy, they complement. If someone is highly animated, They become more expressive but not manic. If someone is reserved, they dial down their energy but don't become boring. Practice this in low-stakes conversations first. Notice how people's posture changes throughout a conversation. Notice their speech patterns, their energy levels. Then practice making subtle adjustments to harmonize with them, not copy them. Rule 5. Never be the most interesting person in the room. Be the most interested. This might be the most counterintuitive rule on this entire list, but it's also one of the most powerful. In our selfie-obsessed, personal brand-building culture, everyone's trying to be fascinating. The problem? Everyone else is trying to do the same thing, which means nobody's listening. When you show genuine curiosity about someone's thoughts, experiences, or expertise, something magical happens. They associate the pleasure of being truly heard with your presence. They don't walk away thinking, wow, that person was interesting. They think, wow, that person made me feel interesting. The technique is simple. Ask better questions. Instead of, what do you do? Try, what's the most challenging part of your work right now? Instead of, where are you from? Try, what's one thing about your hometown that most people don't know? Then, and this is crucial, listen to understand, not to respond. Most people are already formulating their next comment while the other person is speaking. When you listen with full attention, it's so rare that it's magnetic. Rule 6. Your handshake communicates more than your resume. A handshake is a 30-second conversation between two nervous systems. A weak handshake suggests insecurity or disinterest. An overpowering grip suggests insecurity disguised as aggression. But a confident, present handshake? That suggests someone who's comfortable in their own skin. The perfect handshake has 3 elements. Firm pressure, not crushing, not limp, but present. Full palm contact, not just fingertips, which feels dismissive. And eye contact maintained for the full duration of the shake, which shows you're fully present in the moment. But here's what most people miss. The handshake starts before your hands touch. It starts with your approach, your posture, your facial expression. Someone who walks up with shoulders back, genuine smile, and direct eye contact has already won before the handshake begins. Practice this. The next time you shake hands with someone, pay attention to how their grip makes you feel. Notice the difference between someone who's rushed and distracted versus someone who's fully present for those few seconds. Rule 7. Your phone usage in social settings reveals more about your character than your words. In today's world, how you handle your phone in social situations has become the new handshake. It reveals your priorities, your impulse control, your respect for others, and your ability to be present. When you keep your phone face down during conversations, you're communicating that this moment matters more than whatever notification might come through. When you resist the urge to document every experience for social media, you're showing that you value living the moment over proving you lived it. I've started using what I call the 10-second rule. Whenever I feel the urge to check my phone during a social interaction, I wait 10 seconds. Most of the time, the urge passes. When it doesn't, I excuse myself politely rather than dividing my attention. This simple practice has dramatically improved the quality of my relationships. People feel heard when you're with them. They feel valued when you're not constantly proving that somewhere else might be more important. Rule 8. The follow-up determines whether a good first impression becomes a lasting connection. Here's where most people drop the ball. They make a great first impression and then nothing. They assume that one good interaction will automatically lead to a relationship. But impressions fade if they're not reinforced. The most connected people I know have mastered the art of the meaningful follow-up. Not the generic, "it was nice meeting you" message, but something that references a specific part of your conversation. Something that adds value rather than just maintaining contact. If someone mentioned they were struggling with a particular challenge, send them an article that might help. If they shared excitement about a project, follow up to ask how it's going. If they recommended a book or restaurant, circle back to let them know your thoughts after you tried it. The key is timing. Within 24 to 48 hours while the interaction is still fresh in their memory, but not so quickly that you seem desperate or overeager. Rule 9. Money is emotional first, mathematical second. Most people think money problems are math problems. They're not. They're psychology problems disguised as math problems. You can give someone a perfect budget, and they'll still overspend. You can show someone the compound interest calculations, and they'll still avoid investing. Why? Because money isn't about money. It's about how money makes us feel. I once knew someone who made six figures but lived paycheck to paycheck. On paper, it made no sense. In reality, he was spending money to feel successful because deep down, he didn't believe he deserved his income. Every expensive purchase was proof to himself and others that he belonged in that income bracket. Understanding your money psychology is more valuable than understanding money mechanics. Ask yourself, what does spending money give you emotionally? Security? Status? Control? Freedom? Once you know your money triggers, you can make conscious decisions instead of emotional ones. Rule 10. Your relationship with small amounts of money predicts your relationship with large amounts. How you handle finding a $20 bill tells me everything about how you'll handle a $20,000 bonus. How you treat pennies reveals how you'll treat millions. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being intentional. Rich people often have weird quirks around small money that seem contradictory. They'll negotiate a $50 fee but spend $5,000 on a vacation without blinking. The difference? Intention. They spend freely on things that align with their values and grip tightly on everything else. Start practicing intentionality with small amounts. Before any purchase, pause and ask, is this moving me toward my goals or away from them? That daily coffee habit might seem insignificant, but it's training your brain to make unconscious spending decisions. The amount doesn't matter, the pattern does. Rule 11. Debt is borrowed time from your future self. Every dollar you owe is an hour your future self will have to work. Every monthly payment is a commitment you made on behalf of someone who doesn't exist yet, the person you'll be next year, in 5 years, in 20 years. Think of debt this way. Imagine your future self could send you a message. Would they thank you for that car loan that's still going to be around in 6 years? Would they appreciate that credit card balance you've been carrying for the emergency vacation you took last spring? The most successful people I know think of debt as emotional weight, not just financial obligation. They feel the psychological burden of owing money. They understand that debt doesn't just cost money. It costs freedom, flexibility, and peace of mind. Before taking on any debt, ask yourself, am I comfortable asking my future self to work extra hours to pay for this decision? Rule 12. Rich people think in decades. Poor people think in paychecks. Time horizon is the ultimate wealth differentiator. When you're worried about next month's rent, it's hard to think about next decade's retirement. But this short-term thinking becomes a trap that keeps people broke. Wealthy people make decisions based on where they'll be in 10 years. They buy stocks when everyone else is selling because they're not thinking about next month. They're thinking about the next decade. They invest in education, relationships, and assets that appreciate over time. Poor people make decisions based on immediate needs. They choose the cheaper car that costs more in repairs. They skip investing because they need that $100 now, not realizing that $100 could be worth $1,000 in 20 years. Start training yourself to think in longer time frames. Before any major decision, ask, where does this put me in 10 years? That simple question will transform your financial trajectory. Rule 13. Your network's average income predicts yours within $10,000. Show me your 5 closest friends, and I'll predict your income within a narrow range. This isn't about snobbery. It's about the invisible influence of social norms. If everyone around you thinks $40,000 a year is good money, you'll unconsciously limit yourself to that ceiling. Your friends don't just influence what you buy, they influence what you believe is possible. If no one in your circle talks about investing, you probably don't invest. If everyone normalizes living paycheck to paycheck, you'll normalize it too. This doesn't mean you need to abandon your friends. It means you need to intentionally expand your circle to include people who think about money differently than you do. Join investment clubs. Attend entrepreneurship meetups. Find mentors who've achieved what you want to achieve. Your income is the average of your associations, but your potential is unlimited if you choose your associations wisely. Rule 14. Never loan money you can't afford to gift. Money changes relationships in ways that nothing else does. The moment you loan someone money, the dynamic shifts. They start avoiding you because they feel guilty. You start keeping score because you feel used. What started as helping a friend ends as losing one. I learned this rule the expensive way. A close friend needed $3,000 for an emergency. I loaned it with the best intentions and a clear repayment plan. 6 months later, the money wasn't repaid. But worse, the friendship was strained. Every interaction felt awkward because we both knew about the debt hanging between us. Here's the rule that would have saved that relationship. Only loan money you're completely comfortable never seeing again. If you can't afford to gift it, you can't afford to loan it. This way, if they pay you back, it's a pleasant surprise. If they don't, you're not resentful. Money is replaceable. Relationships aren't. Protect your relationships by being realistic about your money. Rule 15. The best financial advice is usually the most boring. Get-rich-quick schemes exist because get-rich-slowly methods are psychologically unsatisfying. Compound interest is boring. Dollar-cost averaging is boring. Living below your means is boring. But boring builds wealth. The financial media makes money by keeping you engaged, not by making you rich. They promote day trading, cryptocurrency speculation, and hot stock tips because steady investing doesn't generate clicks. But study any legitimately wealthy person, and you'll find the same boring strategies: consistent saving, diversified investing, and time. Your brain wants excitement. Your bank account needs consistency. The most successful investors I know could explain their strategy in one sentence. I buy index funds every month regardless of what the market is doing. That's it. No secret sauce, no complicated formulas, just disciplined boredom. If someone's trying to sell you an exciting investment opportunity, they're probably trying to get rich off your money, not help you get rich with it. Rule 16. Your spending reveals your true priorities, not your stated ones. You can tell me your priorities, but your bank statement will tell me your real priorities. We think we make rational spending decisions, but we're actually revealing our deepest values with every purchase. Say you value health, but you spend more on entertainment than on quality food and exercise. Say you value family, but you spend more on hobbies than on experiences with your kids. Say you value financial security, but you spend more on things that depreciate than on things that appreciate. This isn't about judgment, it's about alignment. There's nothing wrong with spending money on things that bring you joy, but there's everything wrong with spending money in ways that contradict what you say matters most to you. Do a spending audit. Look at your last 3 months of expenses and ask, if an alien studied my spending, what would they conclude about my priorities? The answer might surprise you. Rule 17. Emergency funds prevent emergencies from becoming disasters. An emergency fund isn't just money sitting in an account. It's peace of mind sitting in your life. It's the difference between a car breakdown being an inconvenience versus a catastrophe. It's the difference between job loss being stressful versus devastating. But here's what most people don't realize. Emergency funds do more than protect you financially. They protect you psychologically. When you know you can handle unexpected expenses, you make better decisions. You're less likely to stay in a bad job because you're not desperate. You're less likely to take on bad debt because you have options. Start with $500, then $1,000, then 1 month of expenses. Eventually, work toward 3 to 6 months of living expenses. It sounds like a lot, but it's built $25 at a time. The goal isn't to have a perfect emergency fund immediately. The goal is to never again have to choose between a bad financial decision and a worse one. Rule 18. The compound effect works in reverse too. Everyone talks about how compound interest can make you rich over time. But compound poor decisions can make you broke just as systematically. Every small bad money habit compounds into major financial problems. That subscription you forgot to cancel compounds into hundreds of dollars a year. That habit of paying bills late compounds into damaged credit and higher interest rates. That tendency to avoid looking at your bank account compounds into financial chaos. The good news? Small good habits compound too. Setting up automatic transfers compounds into effortless saving. Reading 10 pages about investing each week compounds into financial literacy. Tracking your spending for just 5 minutes a day compounds into complete financial awareness. Start where you are with what you have. Choose one small money habit to improve this week. The compound effect will take care of the rest. Rule 19. Companies hire for skills, but fire for fit. Your resume gets you in the door, but your personality determines whether you stay. I've watched brilliant people get fired not because they couldn't do the job, but because they couldn't read the room. Technical competence is table stakes. Cultural intelligence is what separates the promotable from the replaceable. Every organization has an invisible culture code. Some places value face time over productivity. Others reward bold ideas even when they fail. Some cultures prize consensus building while others celebrate decisive action. Your job is to crack this code in your first 90 days. Watch who gets promoted and why. Notice which behaviors get rewarded and which get punished, regardless of what the employee handbook says. Pay attention to communication styles, meeting dynamics, and unwritten rules about everything from email response times to dress codes. The people who thrive aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the ones who best understand and adapt to the organizational DNA. Rule 20. Your title is what you do. Your brand is who you are. Two people can have identical job titles and completely different career trajectories. The difference isn't their work quality, it's their professional brand. Your brand is the answer to this question. When your name comes up in conversations you're not part of, what do people say? Are you known as the problem solver, the innovator, the reliable one, the person who makes things happen? Or are you just another name on the org chart? Your brand determines which opportunities find you, which meetings you get invited to, and which conversations happen behind closed doors. Building a brand isn't about self-promotion. It's about consistent value creation. Volunteer for the projects no one else wants. Become the go-to person for specific expertise. Share knowledge generously. Solve problems before they become crises. Your brand should be so clear that if someone needed exactly what you offer, your name would be the first one mentioned. Rule 21. Your boss's insecurities are more important than your competencies. This might be the most uncomfortable truth in this entire list, but it's also one of the most valuable. Your boss is human, which means they have fears, insecurities, and emotional needs that have nothing to do with rational business decisions. Maybe they're insecure about their technical knowledge, so they feel threatened by employees who know more than they do. Maybe they're afraid of looking bad to their boss, so they micromanage everything. Maybe they need to feel important, so they take credit for others' work. Understanding your boss's psychological needs is more valuable than understanding their business objectives. If your boss needs to feel smart, ask for their input on decisions you could make alone. If they need to feel important, copy them on emails where you give them credit for good ideas. If they're afraid of surprises, over-communicate even trivial updates. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional intelligence. You're not compromising your integrity. You're managing the human being who controls your career trajectory. The most successful people I know are masters at making their bosses feel secure, valued, and successful. Rule 22. Proximity is power in the modern workplace. In a remote and hybrid work world, the people who get ahead aren't necessarily the most productive. They're the most visible. Being physically or virtually present during important moments creates opportunities that emails and reports can't replicate. If you're remote, this means being strategically visible. Join optional calls. Participate in virtual coffee chats. Volunteer for cross-functional projects that put you in rooms with decision makers. Make sure your contributions are seen, not just your deliverables. If you're in office, proximity means more than just showing up. It means being present during the informal conversations where real decisions get made. The hallway chats, the coffee machine discussions, the 5 minutes before meetings start. These moments often matter more than the formal presentations. Position yourself where information flows and relationships form. Your career will advance through connections, not just contributions. Rule 23. Document everything, but strategically. In today's corporate environment, your memory doesn't matter. Your documentation does. Every important conversation, every decision, every commitment should leave a paper trail. But here's the nuance. How you document matters as much as what you document. Send follow-up emails after important meetings. Thanks for the discussion. Just to confirm, we agreed that. This isn't being difficult, it's being professional. Copy the right people. Use language that's clear but not accusatory. Create a record without creating conflict. When things go wrong, and they will, documentation protects you. But when things go right, documentation promotes you. Keep a record of your wins, your contributions, and your impact. Update this record weekly, because you'll forget the details that could be crucial during performance reviews or job interviews. The people who get promoted aren't necessarily the best performers. They're the ones who can prove they're the best performers. Rule 24. Always have a backup plan that your employer doesn't know about. Loyalty is no longer a two-way street in modern employment. Companies will eliminate positions, restructure departments, and cut costs without warning. Your 20 years of faithful service won't protect you if the spreadsheet says you're too expensive. This doesn't mean you should be paranoid or disloyal. It means you should be prepared. Always have an updated resume, even when you love your job. Maintain relationships with recruiters and former colleagues. Keep your skills current and marketable. But here's the advanced strategy. Develop a side income stream that your employer doesn't know about. Not something that competes with your day job or violates your employment agreement, but something that proves you can generate money independently. This might be consulting, freelancing, creating digital products, or building a small business. The amount doesn't matter initially. The psychological shift does. When you know you can make money without your employer, you make better decisions. You negotiate from strength. You take calculated risks. You stop accepting unacceptable treatment because you're not desperate. Financial independence changes your workplace dynamics completely. Rule 25. Performance reviews are stories, not spreadsheets. Your manager isn't evaluating your performance. They're constructing a narrative about your performance that they can defend to their manager. This narrative needs to be simple, memorable, and positive. Instead of listing everything you did, craft 3 compelling stories about problems you solved, improvements you made, or value you created. Use specific numbers, clear outcomes, and simple language. Make it easy for your manager to advocate for you in rooms you're not in. Sarah increased our conversion rate by 23%, saving the company $50,000 in acquisition costs, is a story your manager can repeat. Sarah worked really hard and completed all her projects on time, is forgettable. Your performance review starts the day after your last performance review. Keep track of your wins, quantify your impact, and craft the narrative throughout the year, not just during review season. Rule 26. Take credit for your wins immediately. Deflect blame strategically. Humble people often finish last in corporate environments because they assume good work speaks for itself. It doesn't. In a busy organization, your contributions will be forgotten or attributed to others if you don't claim them promptly and clearly. When you achieve something significant, send an update to relevant stakeholders within 24 hours. Use language like, "I'm excited to share," or "I wanted to update you on." Make it about the result, not about you, but ensure your role is unmistakable. When things go wrong, the opposite is true. Take responsibility quickly if it's truly your fault, but don't volunteer to be a scapegoat for systemic problems or other people's mistakes. Acknowledge your part while providing context about contributing factors. The formula is simple. Be first to claim success, last to assign blame, and always focus on solutions when problems arise. Rule 27. Your next job is found through your current network, not job boards. 80% of jobs are never posted publicly. They're filled through internal referrals, professional networks, and informal conversations. The best opportunities are shared between trusted contacts before they become official job postings. This means your network is more valuable than your resume. Maintain relationships with former colleagues, classmates, and industry contacts. Help others when you can. Share opportunities that aren't right for you, but might be perfect for someone else. But here's what most people miss. Networking isn't about collecting business cards. It's about creating value for others. Be genuinely interested in other people's challenges and goals. Share useful information. Make strategic introductions. Be the person others think of when opportunities arise. Your career advancement depends more on who knows your capabilities than on what those capabilities are. Rule 28. Office politics aren't optional, they're invisible. Every workplace has politics, whether you participate or not. The question isn't whether you'll deal with office politics. It's whether you'll be good at them or victimized by them. Politics aren't about manipulation or backstabbing. They're about understanding how decisions really get made, who has real influence, and how to navigate competing interests ethically. Learn the informal power structure. Sometimes the executive assistant has more influence than the vice president. Sometimes the person who organizes team events has more social capital than the highest performer. Understand the unwritten rules about communication, conflict, and collaboration. Know who needs to be consulted before decisions are made, even if they're not officially decision makers. Master the art of building alliances without creating enemies. Support other people's initiatives when possible. Stay neutral in conflicts that don't involve you. Build bridges between people who need to work together. Politics are about people, and business is ultimately about people. The better you understand people, the more successful you'll be. Rule 29. The way someone treats people who can't help them reveals their true character. Watch how your date treats the server, the valet, the cleaning staff. Notice how your new friend speaks about their ex, their boss, their family. Pay attention to how your partner talks to customer service representatives. These interactions reveal character in ways that direct conversations with you never will. When someone is trying to impress you, they're on their best behavior. But when they're interacting with people they perceive as having no power over their life, their authentic self emerges. The person who's charming to you but dismissive to others isn't charming. They're strategic. I once ended a promising relationship after watching someone berate a barista over a minor mistake. They were kind to me, attentive, thoughtful. But in that moment of stress with someone who didn't matter, I saw who they really were when the stakes felt low. This isn't about perfection. Everyone has bad days. It's about patterns. It's about basic respect for human dignity regardless of social hierarchy. How people treat those who can do nothing for them predicts how they'll treat you when you can no longer do anything for them. Rule 30. Emotional availability matters more than emotional compatibility. You can have incredible chemistry with someone who's emotionally unavailable, and it will feel like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. You can have moderate compatibility with someone who's emotionally present, and it will feel like coming home. Emotional availability isn't about having deep conversations or sharing feelings. It's about being mentally and emotionally present for connection. It's the ability to put down distractions, engage fully, and create space for intimacy to develop. Someone can say all the right words about commitment while being completely unavailable for actual connection. They're physically present but emotionally elsewhere, thinking about work, scrolling their phone, planning their next move. Before getting deeper into any relationship, ask yourself, when we're together, are they actually with me? Do they seem genuinely curious about my thoughts and feelings? Can they be present without agenda or distraction? These questions matter more than shared interests or life goals. Rule 31. People will tell you exactly who they are. Listen the first time. Your brain wants to give people the benefit of the doubt. It wants to believe that inconsistencies are exceptions, that red flags are misunderstandings, that concerning behavior will improve with time. But people show you who they are through patterns of behavior, not isolated incidents. When someone shows up late consistently, they're showing you that your time isn't valuable to them. When someone talks negatively about every ex, they're showing you how they'll talk about you someday. When someone breaks small promises, they're showing you their relationship with commitment. We ignore these signals because we want the person to be who we hope they are, not who they're demonstrating themselves to be. We create elaborate justifications. They're just stressed right now. They had a difficult childhood. They're not usually like this. Implement a 90-day observation period for new relationships. Don't make excuses. Don't try to change them. Don't project your hopes onto their behavior. Simply observe and take notes. How do they handle stress? How do they treat people with less power? How do they respond when things don't go their way? Actions in low-stakes situations predict behavior in high-stakes situations. The person who cuts in line at the coffee shop will cut corners in your relationship. Rule 32. Love is not enough. This might be the hardest truth about relationships. love doesn't solve practical incompatibilities. You can love someone deeply and still be wrong for each other. You can have intense chemistry and still be unable to build a sustainable life together. Love is the foundation, not the entire house. You also need compatible communication styles, aligned life goals, similar values about money and family, and practical compatibility in daily life. You need mutual respect, emotional maturity, and the ability to resolve conflicts constructively. I've watched countless relationships end not because the love died, but because love couldn't bridge fundamental incompatibilities. Different approaches to conflict, money, family, or life priorities created friction that love alone couldn't smooth over. Ask yourself, beyond the feelings, are we actually compatible? Do we want the same kind of life? Do we handle stress in compatible ways? Can we resolve disagreements without destroying each other? Love gets you started, but compatibility keeps you together. Rule 33. The person you are in a relationship is who you actually are. Relationships don't change people, they reveal people. The stress, intimacy, and vulnerability of close relationships strips away the masks we wear in public. Your relationship behavior is your truest self, not an aberration from it. If you become controlling in relationships, you're a controlling person who manages to hide it in other contexts. If you become jealous, insecure, or manipulative with romantic partners, these qualities exist within you. Relationships just create conditions where they emerge. This is simultaneously humbling and empowering. Humbling because you can't blame your relationship problems entirely on your partner or circumstances. Empowering because you can work on becoming the person you want to be, which will improve every relationship you have. Pay attention to who you become in intimate relationships. Are you proud of that person? Do they align with your values? If not, the work isn't on finding a better partner. It's on becoming a better person. Rule 34. Arguments aren't about being right. They're about feeling heard. Most relationship conflicts aren't actually about the surface issue. The argument about dishes isn't about cleanliness. It's about feeling valued. The fight about money isn't about budgets. It's about feeling secure. The disagreement about social plans isn't about logistics. It's about feeling prioritized. When someone feels truly heard and understood, their need to be right often dissolves. But when they feel dismissed, misunderstood, or invalidated, they'll fight to the death over trivial details because those details represent something deeper. The validation technique that transforms arguments. Before responding to what someone said, reflect back what they're feeling. It sounds like you're feeling unappreciated when I don't help with housework. I'm hearing that you're worried about our financial future. It seems like you're feeling left out when I make plans without consulting you. This isn't agreement, it's acknowledgement. You're not saying they're right. You're saying you understand their emotional experience. Once people feel heard, they become exponentially more willing to hear you. Rule 35. Boundaries are requests, not demands. Healthy boundaries aren't about controlling other people's behavior. They're about defining your own responses to their behavior. You can't make someone respect you, but you can decide what you'll tolerate and what consequences will follow. A boundary sounds like, I don't feel comfortable when conversations become personal attacks. If that happens, I'll need to take a break and continue this later. Not, you need to stop being so mean to me. The key is following through consistently. Boundaries without consequences are just suggestions. If you say you'll leave when someone raises their voice, you have to actually leave. If you say you won't discuss certain topics via text, you have to stop responding to those texts. Boundaries protect relationships by creating safety for vulnerability. When people know what to expect from you, they can trust you. When you're consistent in your responses, they can predict the consequences of their choices. Rule 36. Shared values matter more than shared interests. Interests are what you like to do. Values are what you believe matters most. You can learn to enjoy your partner's hobbies, but you can't learn to share their core values about honesty, family, ambition, or kindness. Two people can both love hiking, but have completely different values about how to treat other people. Two people can have no hobbies in common, but share deep values about integrity, growth, and family. Guess which relationship has better long-term prospects? Values show up in daily decisions, conflict resolution, parenting choices, and life priorities. They determine how you spend money, treat disagreements, and make major life decisions. When values align, you're partners. When they conflict, you're opponents living in the same house. Before committing deeply to someone, understand their core values. How do they define success? What matters most when they're making difficult decisions? What principles would they never compromise? These answers matter more than whether you both enjoy the same Netflix shows. Rule 37. The silent treatment is emotional manipulation, not conflict resolution. Withholding communication as punishment is one of the most damaging relationship behaviors, yet it's often dismissed as needing space. There's a crucial difference between taking time to cool down and using silence as a weapon. Healthy space sounds like, "I'm feeling too heated to have a productive conversation right now. Can we revisit this in an hour?" Manipulation sounds like disappearing without explanation, ignoring texts and calls, or refusing to acknowledge your partner's existence. The silent treatment creates anxiety, confusion, and desperation in the other person. It's designed to make them so uncomfortable that they'll do anything to restore communication, often including accepting responsibility they don't deserve. If you need space during conflicts, communicate that need clearly and set a specific time to reconnect. If someone is giving you the silent treatment, don't chase them or beg for communication. State clearly that you're ready to talk when they are, then go live your life. Rule 38. Your partner's relationship with their phone predicts their relationship priorities. How someone handles their phone around you reveals everything about their priorities and impulse control. The person who can't put their device down during dinner is telling you that whatever might be on that screen is more important than your conversation. This isn't about being controlling or technophobic. It's about attention as the currency of love. When someone gives you their undivided attention, they're giving you their most valuable resource. When they're constantly distracted by notifications, they're communicating that you're not worth their full presence. Notice patterns. Do they put their phone face down during conversations? Do they resist the urge to check messages while you're talking? Can they be present during intimate moments without documenting them for social media? The relationship with the phone often mirrors the relationship with instant gratification, impulse control, and presence in general. If they can't resist checking Instagram during your date, they probably struggle with other forms of delayed gratification and presence that relationships require. Rule 39. How someone handles your success reveals their character. Pay attention to how people in your life respond when good things happen to you. Genuine friends and partners celebrate your wins without making it about themselves. They ask questions, express genuine excitement, and support your achievements. Insecure people respond to your success with immediate comparison, subtle put-downs, or shifting the conversation back to themselves. They might say things like, "must be nice," or "I could never afford that," or immediately launch into their own struggles. Your success threatens insecure people because it highlights what they perceive as their own failures. Your happiness makes unhappy people feel worse about their circumstances. Secure people see your wins as proof that good things happen, which makes them optimistic about their own future. Surround yourself with people who genuinely celebrate your victories. Life is hard enough without having to downplay your successes to protect other people's feelings. Rule 40. The right person will make the relationship feel easier, not harder. Great relationships require work, but they shouldn't feel like constant work. The right partnership should make life feel more manageable, not more complicated. You should feel more yourself around them, not like you're constantly performing or walking on eggshells. If you find yourself constantly explaining, justifying, or defending your basic needs and feelings, you're with the wrong person. If every conversation feels like a negotiation, if you're always wondering where you stand, if you feel anxious more often than peaceful, the relationship is costing you more energy than it's providing. Love should add to your life, not drain it. The right person will make you feel supported, understood, and valued. They'll bring out better versions of you, not worse ones. They'll be your safe harbor, not another storm to weather. Rule 41. The most charismatic people ask follow-up questions. Most people think charisma is about being interesting, but it's actually about being interested. Charismatic people have mastered the art of the follow-up question, the second or third question that shows they were actually listening to your first answer. When someone says they work in marketing, most people nod and move on. Charismatic people ask, "What's the most surprising thing you've learned about consumer behavior?" When someone mentions they just got back from vacation, ordinary conversation dies there. Magnetic people ask, "What was the moment that made you realize you needed that trip?" The secret is that follow-up questions create depth, and depth creates connection. People walk away feeling like you truly saw them, not just heard their surface-level responses. They associate that feeling of being understood with your presence. Practice this. In your next conversation, resist the urge to relate everything back to yourself. Instead, ask one follow-up question for every piece of information someone shares. Watch how the energy in the conversation completely transforms. Rule 42. Confidence is contagious, but so is insecurity. Your emotional state spreads to others like a virus, whether you realize it or not. When you enter a room feeling confident and relaxed, people unconsciously mirror that energy. When you're anxious and insecure, you make everyone around you feel slightly more uncomfortable. This happens through micro-expressions, body language, vocal tone, and energy levels that operate below conscious awareness. Mirror neurons in our brains automatically sync with the emotions of people around us. You're not just responsible for your own emotional state, you're influencing everyone else's. Before entering any social situation, take 60 seconds to consciously choose your emotional state. Anxious about the presentation? Take 3 deep breaths and recall a moment when you felt completely confident. Dreading the networking event? Shift your focus from what you hope to get to what you can offer others. Your emotional state is a gift you give to everyone you encounter. Choose wisely. Rule 43. Gossip tells you more about the gossiper than the subject. When someone tells you negative stories about others, they're inadvertently revealing their own character, fears, and insecurities. The person who constantly points out others' failures is usually worried about their own. The one who focuses on others' appearance is insecure about their own. The one who questions others' motives probably has questionable motives themselves. Listen to what people choose to notice and criticize about others. It's a window into their own psychological landscape. More importantly, remember that how they talk about others when they're not around is exactly how they'll talk about you when you're not around. The smartest approach to workplace or social gossip is strategic neutrality. Don't participate, but don't lecture others about it either. Simply redirect. "I don't know enough about their situation to comment," or "That's interesting. Anyway, did you see the proposal for next quarter?" This positions you as trustworthy without making you appear judgmental. People will start sharing more positive information with you because they know you won't weaponize it. Rule 44. The way you make people feel about themselves determines how they feel about you. People will forget what you said and what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. More specifically, they'll never forget how you made them feel about themselves in your presence. When you make someone feel smart, attractive, interesting, or capable, they associate those positive feelings with you. When you make someone feel stupid, ignored, or inadequate, even accidentally, they'll want to avoid you, regardless of your intentions. This is why some people are magnetic despite having average conversation skills, while others are avoided despite being brilliant. It's not about what you bring to the conversation. It's about what you bring out in others. Practice making others feel like the best version of themselves. Ask for their opinion on things they're knowledgeable about. Compliment their insights rather than their appearance. Remember details they've shared and follow up on them. Notice their strengths and reflect them back. Rule 45. Silence is more powerful than words in most conversations. Most people are afraid of conversational silence, so they fill every pause with unnecessary words. But silence is where the magic happens. It's where people feel safe to share deeper thoughts, where important realizations occur, where real connection develops. When you ask someone a meaningful question, resist the urge to immediately ask another one if they don't respond instantly. Give them space to think. Some of the most profound conversations happen after comfortable silences where both people are processing. Silence also conveys confidence. It shows you're comfortable with yourself and don't need constant validation through talking. It demonstrates that you're genuinely listening rather than just waiting for your turn to speak. Learn to be comfortable with 3 to 5 seconds of silence in conversations. You'll be amazed how much deeper people go when they feel they have permission to think before speaking. Rule 46. Mirror people's energy level, then gradually elevate it. Emotional contagion is a real psychological phenomenon. People automatically sync their energy to match those around them. But here's the subtle leadership technique. You don't just mirror their energy, you gradually guide it upward. If someone is speaking quietly and seems low energy, match their volume and pace initially. This creates safety and rapport. Then, over the course of the conversation, slowly increase your energy, enthusiasm, and optimism. Most people will unconsciously follow your lead. Great hosts understand this intuitively. They meet guests at whatever energy level they arrive with, then gently guide the room toward the atmosphere they want to create. They don't force cheerfulness on someone who's having a rough day, but they also don't let one person's bad mood drag down the entire gathering. This works in professional settings too. Match the room's energy during meetings, then gradually introduce more enthusiasm, curiosity, or solution-focused thinking. People will follow your emotional leadership without realizing it. Rule 47. Your reputation is built on consistency, not perfection. People don't expect you to be perfect, but they do expect you to be predictable. Your reputation isn't formed by your best moments or your worst moments. It's formed by your most consistent moments. The colleague who's usually reliable but occasionally makes mistakes is trusted more than the one who sometimes delivers brilliantly but often misses deadlines. The friend who's consistently supportive is valued more than the one who's occasionally amazing but often unavailable. Focus on being consistently good rather than occasionally great. Show up reliably, communicate clearly, and follow through on commitments. These basic behaviors, repeated over time, build unshakable reputations. Most people try to impress others with their peak performance, but reputation is built in the valleys, not on the peaks. Rule 48. Remember people's names, but more importantly, remember their stories. Everyone knows you should remember names, but here's what creates real connection. Remembering personal details people have shared with you. The promotion they were hoping for, the vacation they were planning, the challenge they were facing with their teenager. When you follow up on these personal details weeks or months later, you demonstrate something rare, that you see them as a complete person, not just their professional role or social function. Keep a simple system, mental or written, for cataloging meaningful details about people in your network. Their kids' names, their hobbies, their current projects or challenges. When you run into them months later, ask about these specific things. How did your daughter's soccer tournament go? Is infinitely more powerful than how are things. It shows you were truly listening during your last conversation and that you care enough to remember what matters to them. Rule 49. The best networkers give before they receive. Effective networking isn't about collecting business cards or asking for favors. It's about creating value for others before you need anything from them. The most connected people I know are constantly making introductions, sharing opportunities, and helping others solve problems. When you hear about a job opening that's not right for you, think of someone in your network who might be interested. When you read an article relevant to someone's business, send it to them with a note. When you meet someone who could benefit from knowing someone else in your network, make the introduction. This approach transforms networking from a transactional activity into a relationship-building practice. People remember who helped them, who thought of them, who added value to their life without being asked. The favor you do today for someone who can't help you might connect you to your dream opportunity 5 years from now through paths you never could have predicted. Rule 50. Your body language speaks before you do. People form impressions about your confidence, competence, and character within seconds of seeing you, based entirely on how you carry yourself. Your posture, eye contact, facial expression, and movement patterns communicate more than your first words ever will. Confident body language isn't about taking up maximum space. It's about taking up your rightful space without apology. Stand tall but relaxed. Make eye contact that's warm, not intense. Move with purpose but not haste. Practice what I call neutral confidence, body language that's neither aggressive nor submissive, but simply present. Shoulders back but not rigid, hands visible and relaxed, facial expression that's pleasant but not forced. Your body language should match your intentions. If you want to connect, face people directly. If you want to listen, lean in slightly. If you want to be taken seriously, move with deliberation rather than nervousness. Remember, people believe what they see more than what they hear. Make sure your body is telling the same story as your words. Rule 51. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Every time you accept disrespectful behavior without consequence, you're giving someone permission to repeat it. Every time you say it's okay, when it's not okay, you're training that person to continue treating you poorly. This isn't their fault. It's basic human psychology. People learn what works through trial and error. If someone can interrupt you, dismiss your ideas, or disregard your time without any pushback, they'll naturally continue doing it. They're not necessarily malicious. They're just following the path of least resistance you've created. The solution isn't to become combative or dramatic. It's to have calm, clear conversations about your standards. I need you to let me finish my thoughts before responding. Or, when you're more than 15 minutes late without calling, it makes me feel like my time isn't valuable to you. Most people don't realize they're being disrespectful until someone points it out respectfully. Give them the chance to adjust before assuming malicious intent. Rule 52. Self-respect isn't something you earn. It's something you practice. Most people think self-respect comes after achievement, success, or external validation. But it works the opposite way. Self-respect is a daily practice that eventually leads to the life you want, not a reward you get after reaching certain milestones. Self-respect means keeping promises to yourself even when no one is watching. It means speaking up for your needs even when it's uncomfortable. It means walking away from situations that compromise your values even when it's costly. Start small. If you say you'll go to the gym, go to the gym. If you decide to eat healthier, follow through. If you set a boundary, maintain it. These small acts of self-integrity build the foundation for larger acts of self-respect. You can't expect others to respect you more than you respect yourself. But here's the paradox. You can't wait for others to respect you before you start respecting yourself. Rule 53. How people treat service workers reveals their true character. The waiter, the cashier, the cleaning person, the Uber driver. These interactions reveal someone's authentic character because there's no social or professional advantage to be gained from being kind. There's no networking opportunity, no potential for advancement, no reason to impress. When someone is rude to a server but charming to you, they're showing you conditional kindness based on what you can do for them. When they're patient with the cashier who's having technical difficulties, they're showing you how they handle frustration when no one important is watching. This is why the restaurant test is so valuable when evaluating potential partners, friends, or business associates. Their behavior toward people who can't benefit their career or social status shows you who they really are when the stakes feel low. Pay attention to tone of voice, body language, and patience levels during these interactions. Someone who can't extend basic courtesy to people in service roles will struggle to extend genuine respect to you when the novelty wears off. Rule 54. Saying no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an elaborate explanation for your boundaries. No, I can't do that is a complete thought. No, that doesn't work for me requires no justification. No, I'm not available needs no follow-up explanation. The more you explain your no, the more you invite negotiation. When you say, I can't help you move because I have plans with my family, and my back has been bothering me, and I promised my neighbor I'd help with their garden, you're giving someone multiple points to argue against. Practice saying no cleanly. I won't be able to help with that. That's not going to work for me. I'm not available. If pressed for reasons, you can say, I prefer not to go into details, but my answer is still no. This isn't about being rude, it's about being clear. Most people will respect a firm, Polite no more than they'll respect a wishy-washy, maybe accompanied by a dissertation. Rule 55. The people who drain your energy aren't necessarily bad people, but they're bad for you. Some people are emotional vampires not because they're malicious, but because their needs, communication style, or energy level is fundamentally incompatible with yours. They might be wonderful people who bring out the worst in you, or you might bring out the worst in each other. You can care about someone and still recognize that spending time with them leaves you depleted, anxious, or frustrated. You can wish someone well while also limiting your exposure to them. Compatibility isn't just about romantic relationships. It applies to friendships, family dynamics, and professional relationships. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with different people. Some interactions leave you energized and inspired. Others leave you drained and questioning yourself. Both responses give you valuable information about who should be in your inner circle versus your outer circle. This isn't about cutting people out of your life completely. It's about managing the time and energy you invest in different relationships based on their impact on your well-being. Rule 56. Your tolerance for disrespect trains people how to treat you. Human beings are pattern-seeking creatures. We learn what works and repeat it. When you tolerate interruptions, last-minute cancellations, dismissive comments, or inconsiderate behavior, you're inadvertently teaching people that this treatment is acceptable. People pleasers often create their own misery by accepting unacceptable behavior in the name of being understanding or low maintenance. But there's nothing kind about enabling someone's disrespectful patterns or allowing resentment to build instead of addressing problems directly. The boundary-setting conversation framework is simple. For example, when you cancel plans at the last minute, I feel like my time isn't valued. Going forward, I need at least 24 hours notice if you can't make it. Then, and this is crucial, follow through with consequences if the behavior continues. Boundaries without enforcement are just suggestions. Rule 57. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. Some people thrive on conflict and will try to drag you into unnecessary drama. They'll bait you with provocative comments, challenge your decisions, or create problems where none exist. You always have the choice not to engage. I see this differently, but I don't think we need to debate it. That's an interesting perspective. I'm going to step away from this conversation. These phrases allow you to disengage without escalating or being rude. Not every disagreement needs to become an argument. Not every criticism needs to be defended. Not every provocation needs to be answered. Sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Choose your battles based on what matters most to you, not on what other people want to fight about. Rule 58. Your comfort zone is not your friend. Growth requires discomfort, and self-respect often means doing things that feel scary or unfamiliar. Standing up for yourself, saying no to people you want to please, walking away from situations that don't serve you. These actions rarely feel comfortable in the moment. Your comfort zone will always try to convince you to avoid difficult conversations, accept mediocre treatment, or stay in situations that feel familiar even when they're not fulfilling. But self-respect means choosing your long-term well-being over your short-term comfort. Every time you do something that honors your values despite feeling uncomfortable, you expand your capacity for self-advocacy. Every boundary you set makes the next one easier. Every time you choose yourself over others' approval, you strengthen your self-respect muscle. Discomfort is temporary. Regret over not standing up for yourself lasts much longer. Rule 59. Never explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Some people will misinterpret your motives, no matter how clearly you communicate. They're not interested in understanding. They're interested in being right, creating drama, or maintaining their narrative about who you are. You'll recognize these people by their pattern. They ask questions that feel like traps. They twist your words. They respond to what they think you meant instead of what you actually said, and they seem invested in conflict rather than resolution. The freedom comes in recognizing that you can't change someone's mind when they don't want it changed. You can't convince someone who's determined to misunderstand you. You can't win an argument with someone who's committed to seeing you as the villain. Identify these bad faith actors quickly and stop wasting your energy trying to prove your worth to them. Your time and emotional energy are precious resources. Invest them in people who approach you with genuine curiosity rather than predetermined conclusions. Rule 60. Self-care isn't selfish, it's strategic. Taking care of your physical, emotional, and mental health isn't indulgent. It's necessary for showing up as your best self in all your relationships and responsibilities. You can't pour from an empty cup, support others from a place of depletion, or maintain healthy boundaries when you're running on fumes. Self-care looks different for everyone, but it always involves saying no to some things so you can say yes to others. It means protecting your sleep, managing your stress, nourishing your body, and creating space for activities that restore your energy. This isn't about spa days and bubble baths, although those can be part of it. It's about making choices that support your long-term well-being even when they require short-term sacrifice or inconvenience. When you take care of yourself consistently, you become more patient, more present, and more capable of handling life's challenges. Everyone in your life benefits when you're operating from a place of strength rather than survival. Rule 61. You can't control your first thought, but you can control your second. Your brain's initial emotional reaction to any situation is automatic and largely outside your conscious control. If someone cuts you off in traffic, your first thought might be anger. If you receive criticism, your first reaction might be defensiveness. If you face rejection, your initial response might be shame. These are normal human reactions. But what happens next is entirely within your power. Your second thought, the one that follows the automatic reaction, is where your emotional intelligence lives. This is where you can choose curiosity over judgment, compassion over criticism, or problem-solving over panic. The space between stimulus and response is where your character lives. Train yourself to recognize that first automatic thought without judging it, then consciously choose a more helpful second thought. This simple practice will transform your relationships and your inner peace. Most people live their entire lives being controlled by their first thoughts. Emotionally intelligent people learn to pause and choose their second ones. Rule 62. Emotions are data, not directives. Your feelings provide valuable information about your needs, values, and circumstances, but they shouldn't automatically dictate your actions. Anxiety might be telling you to prepare more thoroughly, not to avoid the challenge entirely. Anger might be signaling that your boundaries were crossed, not that you should lash out. Sadness might indicate something important was lost, not that you're broken. Learn to listen to your emotions like a scientist studying data rather than a victim being controlled by forces beyond your understanding. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What need or value is it highlighting? What action would actually address the underlying issue? Sometimes the wisest response to fear is to move toward what scares you. Sometimes the best response to anger is to have a calm conversation. Sometimes the healthiest response to sadness is to let yourself grieve without trying to fix it immediately. Your emotions are advisory, not mandatory. Rule 63. Your emotional state is contagious. Choose it consciously. Mirror neurons in your brain automatically sync with the emotions of people around you, which means your mood doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone you encounter. When you're stressed, you make others feel slightly more anxious. When you're calm and confident, you help others feel more at ease. This makes emotional regulation not just a personal skill, but a leadership skill. The parent who stays calm during family chaos helps everyone settle down. The manager who remains steady during workplace crises helps the team think more clearly. The friend who brings genuine warmth to tense situations helps everyone relax. Start your morning with intentional emotional preparation. Before checking your phone, take 3 minutes to consciously choose the energy you want to bring to your day. Stressed about your to-do list? Practice gratitude for your opportunities. Dreading a difficult conversation? Focus on your intention to understand and be understood. Your emotional state is a gift you give to everyone around you. Make sure it's a gift worth giving. Rule 64. Most people are doing the best they can with the resources they have. This doesn't mean you should accept unacceptable behavior or ignore the impact of other people's actions. It means understanding that people's behavior usually makes sense within the context of their knowledge, emotional state, past experiences, and current resources. The difficult colleague might be overwhelmed at home. The rude stranger might be dealing with personal crisis. The friend who keeps canceling plans might be struggling with depression. This perspective doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it helps you respond from wisdom rather than reactivity. When you assume positive intent, you create space for curiosity instead of judgment. You ask better questions. What might be going on for them? Instead of, why are they being so difficult? This shift in perspective often leads to more effective solutions and preserves relationships that might otherwise be damaged by misunderstanding. Compassion isn't about being naive. It's about being strategic. Understanding people's limitations and struggles helps you work with reality instead of fighting against it. Rule 65. The stories you tell yourself about events matter more than the events themselves. Two people can experience the identical situation and have completely different emotional responses based on the meaning they assign to what happened. Getting passed over for a promotion can be devastating evidence of your inadequacy or valuable feedback about areas to develop. A relationship ending can be proof that you're unlovable or confirmation that you weren't compatible with that particular person. Your brain is constantly creating narratives to make sense of your experiences, but those narratives aren't necessarily accurate or helpful. Challenge the stories that increase your suffering or limit your possibilities. Ask yourself, is there another way to interpret this situation? What would I tell a friend who was going through the same thing? The most emotionally intelligent people I know have learned to be editors of their own inner narratives. They catch themselves creating unhelpful stories and consciously choose more accurate or empowering interpretations. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always influence what it means to you. Rule 66. Anger is often sadness wearing a disguise. Anger feels more powerful than sadness, so our psyche often converts vulnerable emotions into seemingly stronger ones. The anger you feel when someone disappoints you might actually be sadness about unmet expectations. The rage you feel when you're criticized might actually be hurt about feeling misunderstood. Understanding this emotional translation helps you address the real issue instead of getting stuck in secondary emotions. When you feel angry, pause and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling underneath this? What do I need that I'm not getting? This doesn't mean anger is never appropriate. Sometimes anger is the accurate emotional response to injustice or boundary violations. But often, anger is a protective shell around more vulnerable feelings that need attention. The pause technique is simple. When you notice anger arising, take 3 deep breaths and ask, what's underneath this? You might discover sadness, fear, disappointment, or hurt. Addressing these primary emotions usually resolves the situation more effectively than acting from anger. Rule 67. You're not responsible for other people's emotions, but you are responsible for your impact. There's a crucial difference between causing someone's emotional reaction and being responsible for managing it. You can't control how others feel, but you can be mindful of how your words and actions affect them. If someone has an extreme reaction to reasonable feedback, that's their emotional responsibility to manage. But if your delivery was unnecessarily harsh or your timing was thoughtless, you own that impact. If someone takes offense at your boundaries, that's their issue. But if you set those boundaries in a deliberately hurtful way, that's on you. This balance allows you to be considerate without being codependent, honest without being cruel, and authentic without being careless. You can care about others' feelings without taking responsibility for managing them. Take ownership of your choices while allowing others to own theirs. This creates healthier relationships and clearer communication. Rule 68. People's advice reflects their fears more than your situation. When someone tells you not to take a risk, they're often projecting their own fear of failure. When they warn you about trusting people, they're usually revealing their own trust issues. When they discourage your dreams, they're frequently expressing their own regret about dreams they didn't pursue. This doesn't mean all advice is worthless, but it means you need to filter guidance through the lens of the advisor's experiences, personality, and current life situation. The risk-averse person will always counsel caution. The person who's been hurt will always advise protection. The person who settled for security will question your pursuit of meaning. Listen to advice with curiosity about what it reveals regarding the giver's worldview. But remember that their fears don't have to become your limitations. Their past experiences don't predict your future outcomes. Their definition of success doesn't have to match yours. You are the final authority on your life because you're the only one who has to live with the consequences of your choices. Rule 69. Emotional maturity means feeling your feelings without letting them drive your behavior. The goal isn't to eliminate difficult emotions. It's to experience them without being controlled by them. You can feel disappointed without becoming bitter. You can feel angry without becoming cruel. You can feel scared without becoming paralyzed. Emotional maturity is the ability to sit with discomfort long enough to choose a wise response instead of an automatic reaction. It's feeling hurt without immediately hurting back. It's experiencing rejection without immediately rejecting yourself. It's facing uncertainty without immediately creating false certainty through worry or control. This skill develops through practice. Start with small irritations and work your way up to bigger challenges. Notice the emotion, name it, breathe through it. Then choose your response based on your values rather than your feelings. Your emotions are valid, but they don't have to be in charge. Rule 70. The quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. At the end of life, no one wishes they had spent more time alone or accumulated more possessions. People regret relationships they didn't nurture, love they didn't express, and connections they didn't prioritize. Your emotional intelligence isn't just a personal development tool, it's relationship insurance. The better you understand emotions, the better you can connect with others. The more skilled you become at managing your own emotional state, the more you can be present for others. Invest in your emotional intelligence like you would invest in your physical health or professional skills. Practice empathy, develop self-awareness, learn to communicate feelings clearly, and master the art of emotional regulation. Every relationship in your life will benefit from your emotional growth, and every area of your life will improve when your relationships are healthier. Rule 71. Your body keeps score, even when your mind doesn't. Every late night, every skipped meal, every stressful day without recovery, your body is tracking it all. You might not consciously notice the cumulative effect, but your energy levels, mood, decision-making ability, and immune system are all keeping a detailed ledger. The businessman who survives on 4 hours of sleep and gas station coffee might feel invincible for months, but his body is accumulating debt that will eventually demand payment through illness, burnout, or poor judgment that costs him far more than the time he thought he was saving. Your body has its own intelligence, and it communicates through energy levels, cravings, tension, and symptoms. Learn to listen to these signals before they become emergencies. That afternoon energy crash isn't just about getting older, it's feedback about your nutrition, sleep, or stress levels. Start paying attention to patterns. What makes you feel energized versus drained? What foods give you sustained energy versus quick spikes and crashes? What activities restore you versus deplete you? Your body is constantly giving you data about what works and what doesn't. Rule 72. Your energy level determines your life quality more than your circumstances. Two people can have identical external circumstances, but completely different life experiences based on their energy levels. The person who wakes up refreshed approaches challenges with creativity and optimism. The person who's chronically exhausted sees the same challenges as overwhelming burdens. When you're tired, everything feels harder. Conversations become conflicts. Opportunities look like obligations. Small problems feel insurmountable. Your decision-making deteriorates, your patience evaporates, and your relationships suffer, not because your life got worse, but because your energy got depleted. Conduct an energy audit. Track your energy levels hourly for a week. Notice when you feel most alert and when you crash. Identify which activities, people, and environments energize you versus drain you. Then redesign your schedule to protect your high energy times for your most important work. Most people schedule their lives around external demands without considering their internal energy rhythms. But your circadian rhythm isn't just about sleep. It affects your cognitive performance, mood, and physical strength throughout the day. Work with your biology, not against it. Rule 73. Movement is medicine, but consistency beats intensity. You don't need to be an athlete to get the profound mental and physical benefits of regular movement. A 20-minute walk every day will do more for your health than a 2-hour gym session once a week. Your body craves consistent movement more than perfect workouts. Exercise isn't just about physical fitness. It's about mental clarity, emotional regulation, and stress management. Movement increases blood flow to your brain, releases mood-enhancing chemicals, and helps your body process stress hormones. It's literally medicine for your mind. The key is finding movement you actually enjoy and can sustain. Dancing, gardening, hiking, swimming, martial arts. It doesn't matter what it is as long as you do it regularly. Consistency creates compound benefits that occasional intense efforts can't match. Start with what you can maintain. 10 minutes of stretching every morning beats sporadic hour-long yoga sessions. A daily walk around the block beats weekend warrior cycling marathons. Build the habit first, then increase the intensity. Rule 74. What you eat affects how you think more than you realize. Your brain consumes about 20% of your daily calories, and the quality of those calories directly impacts your cognitive performance. The blood sugar roller coaster from processed foods creates corresponding mood and energy swings. The inflammation from poor nutrition affects your ability to think clearly and regulate emotions. Notice how you feel mentally and emotionally 2 hours after different meals. That heavy, sluggish feeling after fast food isn't just physical, it's cognitive. The sustained energy from a balanced meal with protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates translates to sustained mental performance. You don't need a perfect diet, but you do need a mindful one. Pay attention to how different foods affect your energy, mood, and mental clarity. Some people think better with intermittent fasting. Others need regular small meals. Some thrive on low carbs. Others need them for brain fuel. Your optimal nutrition is personal, but the principle is universal. What you put in your body directly affects how well your mind works. Rule 75. Sleep is the ultimate performance enhancer that costs nothing. Sleep isn't downtime. It's when your brain consolidates memories, processes emotions, clears metabolic waste, and prepares for the next day. Chronic sleep deprivation doesn't just make you tired. It impairs your judgment, weakens your immune system, and accelerates aging at a cellular level. Every successful person I know protects their sleep like their most valuable asset, because it is. They understand that an extra hour of sleep often provides more value than an extra hour of work. Well-rested people make better decisions, have better relationships, and accomplish more in less time. The sleep hygiene protocol that changes everything. Consistent sleep and wake times, even on weekends. A cool, dark, quiet bedroom. No screens for an hour before bed. No caffeine after 2 p.m. No alcohol close to bedtime. It might help you fall asleep, but it destroys sleep quality. Most people sacrifice sleep for productivity, not realizing that poor sleep makes them less productive overall. You're not being lazy when you prioritize sleep. You're being strategic. Rule 76. Stress is inevitable, but chronic stress is optional. Acute stress, the kind you feel before a presentation or during a challenging workout, can actually be beneficial. It sharpens focus, increases performance, and builds resilience. But chronic stress, the kind that never turns off, is toxic to both your mind and body. The difference isn't in what happens to you, it's in how you recover. Resilient people experience the same stressful events as everyone else, but they have better recovery protocols. They know how to activate their parasympathetic nervous system and return their body to a calm state. Simple stress recovery techniques, deep breathing exercises, brief meditation, time in nature, physical movement, or any activity that fully absorbs your attention. The key is having a repertoire of quick recovery methods you can use throughout the day. Chronic stress rewires your brain for anxiety, impairs your immune system, and accelerates aging. But you have more control over your stress response than you realize. You can't control what happens, but you can control how long you carry it. Rule 77. Your physical posture influences your mental state more than you realize. Your body and mind aren't separate systems. They're interconnected feedback loops. When you slouch, your brain receives signals that you're defeated or disengaged. When you stand tall, your brain gets messages of confidence and alertness. This isn't just metaphorical, it's neurochemical. Power posing for just 2 minutes before challenging situations can increase confidence hormones and decrease stress hormones. The simple act of sitting up straight improves focus and energy. Walking with purpose changes your mental state as much as your physical state. Your posture communicates to others, but more importantly, it communicates to your own nervous system. Confident posture creates confident feelings, which lead to confident actions, which create confident outcomes. Practice embodied confidence. Shoulders back, but relaxed, spine straight, head level. Whether you're in a meeting, having a difficult conversation, or just walking down the street, your posture is programming your mental state. Before important conversations or challenging tasks, spend 2 minutes in a private space with your hands on your hips, feet shoulder-width apart, chin slightly raised. It sounds silly, but it works. Rule 78. Recovery isn't reward, it's requirement. Most people think of rest, relaxation, and recovery as luxuries they earn after working hard. But recovery is actually a performance requirement, not a performance reward. Athletes understand this intuitively. They know that muscles grow during rest, not during exercise. Your brain and nervous system follow the same principle. Creativity happens during downtime. Problem solving often occurs when you're not actively trying to solve problems. Insight comes during mental rest periods, not during intense focus sessions. Build recovery into your schedule like you would any other important activity. This might mean short meditation breaks during the workday, regular digital detoxes, nature walks without podcasts, or simply sitting quietly without any agenda. The most productive people aren't the ones who work the most hours. They're the ones who understand the rhythm between effort and recovery. They sprint and rest, focus and relax, engage and withdraw in sustainable cycles. Recovery isn't being lazy, it's being sustainable. Your future self will thank you for the rest you take today. Rule 79. Time is the only resource you can't get more of. Everyone gets exactly 24 hours each day, 168 hours each week. The billionaire and the minimum wage worker have identical time budgets. The difference isn't in how much time they have, it's in how intentionally they allocate it. Most people spend more time choosing a restaurant for dinner than they spend choosing how to invest their hours. They'll research a purchase for weeks, but never examine whether their daily routines are moving them toward or away from their goals. Time is the ultimate democracy and the ultimate inequality simultaneously. It's distributed equally, but leveraged unequally. The person who protects their time like their most valuable asset, because it is, will always outperform the person who treats time as unlimited. Start tracking your time like you track your money. For 1 week, log how you actually spend your hours, not how you think you spend them. You'll be shocked by how much time disappears into activities that don't align with what you say matters most. Rule 80. Everything takes longer than you think, but compound effects happen faster than you expect. The planning fallacy is real. We consistently underestimate how long tasks will take while overestimating our future availability. That project you think needs 2 hours will probably take 3. That meeting scheduled for 30 minutes will likely run 45. But here's the paradox. While individual tasks take longer than expected, consistent daily actions compound faster than you imagine. The person who writes for 15 minutes every day will have a book before the person who plans to write for 8 hours every weekend but never finds the time. Build buffers into your schedule, not because you're being pessimistic, but because you're being realistic. Then use those compound effects to your advantage by choosing small, sustainable actions over grand, unsustainable gestures. 20 minutes of daily reading creates more knowledge than weekend book binges. 15 minutes of daily exercise creates better fitness than sporadic gym sessions. Small, consistent efforts compound into extraordinary results. Rule 81. Busy is a decision, not a circumstance. Being overwhelmed isn't something that happens to you. It's something you create through poor boundaries, unclear priorities, and the inability to say no. Busy people aren't victims of their circumstances. They're victims of their choices. The priority matrix that changes everything. Divide all activities into 4 categories. Important and urgent, do these immediately. Important but not urgent, schedule these. Urgent but not important, delegate these. Neither urgent nor important, eliminate these. Most people spend their lives in the urgent but not important category, responding to other people's emergencies instead of preventing their own. They confuse motion with progress, activity with achievement, and being busy with being productive. Focused people accomplish more because they do fewer things. They understand that every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. They create artificial scarcity around their time to force better decision-making. Rule 82. Perfectionism is procrastination wearing a disguise. Most people think perfectionism is about having high standards, but it's actually about avoiding judgment. The perfectionist doesn't start the project because they're afraid it won't be perfect. They don't finish the project because it's not perfect yet. They don't share the project because someone might find flaws. Done is better than perfect because done can be improved. Perfect can't exist. The pursuit of perfection becomes the enemy of progress, learning, and ultimately, excellence. The 80-20 rule applies to quality as well as results. 80% of the value comes from the first 20% of perfectionism. Getting something from 80% to 100% perfect often requires the same effort as getting it from 0% to 80%, but provides minimal additional value. Ship early, iterate quickly, and improve based on real feedback rather than imaginary standards. The market will teach you more about quality than your internal critic ever will. Rule 83. Your calendar reveals your priorities better than your words. You can tell me your priorities, but your calendar will tell me your real priorities. If you say family is most important, but work 12-hour days, your calendar reveals your true values. If you claim health matters, but never schedule exercise, your time allocation betrays your actual priorities. Conduct a weekly calendar audit. Look at how you actually spent your time last week and ask yourself whether it aligns with what you say matters most. Are you investing time in relationships you claim to value? Are you developing skills you say you want to improve? Are you making progress on goals you say are important? Most people are unconscious about their time allocation. They let urgency drive their schedule instead of importance. They respond to demands instead of creating intentions. They live reactively instead of proactively. Your calendar should reflect your values, not just your obligations. If it doesn't, start making changes. Schedule important activities like appointments with yourself. Protect time for priorities before filling up with other people's priorities. Rule 84. Deep work beats shallow work every time. In our distraction-rich environment, the ability to focus without interruption has become a superpower. 1 hour of deep, focused work often produces more value than 4 hours of distracted, multitasking effort. Deep work requires 3 elements: uninterrupted time, clear objectives, and full mental engagement. This means turning off notifications, closing unnecessary tabs, and committing to single tasking for extended periods. The cost of task switching is higher than most people realize. Every time you check email, respond to a text, or glance at social media, your brain needs time to refocus on the original task. These micro-interruptions compound into significant productivity losses. Protect blocks of time for your most important work when your energy is highest. For most people, this means doing creative or analytical work in the morning and saving administrative tasks for afternoon energy lulls. Shallow work, emails, meetings, administrative tasks, feels productive because it provides immediate feedback and completion. But deep work creates disproportionate value and long-term results. Rule 85. Saying no to good opportunities creates space for great ones. Every opportunity has an opportunity cost. When you say yes to one thing, you're automatically saying no to everything else you could do with that time. Good opportunities can be just as dangerous as bad ones because they prevent you from recognizing great ones. Develop criteria for automatic decision-making. What does an opportunity need to offer for you to say yes? Clear criteria eliminate decision fatigue and help you make consistent choices aligned with your priorities. The most successful people I know are ruthlessly selective about their commitments. They say no to 90% of opportunities, not because those opportunities are bad, but because they're not the best use of their limited time and energy. Warren Buffett's approach to opportunity evaluation: if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. This creates space for the opportunities that truly excite and align with your goals. Rule 86. Margins create magic. The most stressed people schedule themselves at 100% capacity with no buffer for the unexpected. When anything goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, their entire schedule collapses like dominoes. Effective people schedule themselves at 80% capacity, creating margins for spontaneity, creativity, and problem solving. These margins aren't wasted time. They're where breakthrough insights happen, relationships deepen, and opportunities emerge. Margins allow you to be present instead of constantly rushing to the next commitment. They create space for reflection, which is where wisdom develops. They provide flexibility to handle unexpected opportunities or challenges without derailing your entire schedule. Build margins into your daily schedule, your weekly planning, and your long-term goals. Leave 20% of your calendar unscheduled. Finish projects before their deadlines. Save more money than you think you need. Margins aren't slack. They're strategic reserves that separate professionals from amateurs, planned people from reactive people, and sustainable achievers from eventual burnouts. Rule 87. The person you are when things go wrong is who you really are. Anyone can be kind when life is easy, patient when things are going smoothly, and honest when there's nothing to gain from lying. But your true character emerges in moments of pressure, disappointment, and temptation. How you handle failure, treat people when you're stressed, and respond to setbacks reveals your authentic self. I once watched someone's reputation completely change during a project crisis. When everything was going well, they were collaborative and pleasant. But when deadlines loomed and pressure mounted, they became blame-shifting, credit-stealing, and dishonest about their contributions. The crisis didn't create these qualities, it revealed them. Character isn't what you do when people are watching or when outcomes are guaranteed. It's what you do when no one would know, when you're tired, when you're frustrated, when doing the right thing costs you something. Pay attention to your own behavior during difficult moments. Are you proud of how you handle stress? Do you maintain your values when it's inconvenient? Your answers reveal whether you're building character or just managing appearances. Rule 88. Small actions compound into lasting impact. You won't be remembered for your grand gestures as much as you'll be remembered for your consistent small kindnesses. The coworker who always listens when you're struggling. The friend who remembers important dates. The person who keeps their word on trivial matters as reliably as important ones. Legacy isn't built in dramatic moments. It's built in ordinary Tuesday interactions. The way you treat the barista when you're running late. How you respond when someone makes a mistake. Whether you keep promises that only matter to other people. These micro-interactions seem insignificant in isolation, but they compound over decades into your reputation. People won't remember the details, but they'll remember the feeling of being around you. They'll remember whether you made their life slightly easier or slightly harder. Start paying attention to the small ways you can improve someone's day. Hold the elevator. Send the encouraging text. Give credit generously. These actions cost you nothing but create deposits in the relationship accounts that determine your legacy. Rule 89. Your character is built in moments when no one is watching. Integrity isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent between your private behavior and public persona. The person you are when no one is watching is your truest self, and that person determines whether your success is sustainable. Shortcuts taken in private always become public eventually. The corners you cut, the standards you compromise, the promises you break to yourself, they all compound into patterns that eventually show up in ways others can see. Conduct a private behavior audit. Are you proud of how you handle money when no one would know? Do you maintain your health and relationships when there's no external pressure? Are you honest in situations where dishonesty would never be discovered? Character is like a muscle. It's strengthened through consistent use in low-stakes situations, so it's available in high-stakes moments. The person who cheats on their diet will eventually cheat on their taxes. The person who lies about small things will lie about big things when the pressure increases. Rule 90. Your legacy is not what you accomplish, it's what you make possible for others. The most enduring legacies aren't individual achievements. They're the people you influenced, the opportunities you created for others, and the positive changes you enabled long after you're gone. Great leaders don't just achieve great things, they develop other leaders. Great teachers don't just share knowledge, they inspire students to surpass them. Great parents don't just raise successful children, they model character that gets passed down through generations. Ask yourself, who is better off because they knew you? Whose potential did you help unlock? What positive changes did you set in motion that will continue without you? This perspective shifts your focus from accumulating accomplishments to creating value that multiplies. Instead of asking, what can I achieve? Ask, what can I make possible? Instead of building monuments to yourself, build foundations for others. Rule 91. The stories people tell about you after you leave the room define your true reputation. Your reputation isn't what you say about yourself or even what people say to your face. It's what they say about you when you're not there. These unguarded conversations reveal how people really perceive your character, reliability, and impact. Think about the stories told in your absence. Are they about your competence or your character? Your achievements or your integrity? Your success or your generosity? These stories, told thousands of times over years, become your true reputation. Every interaction is a deposit or withdrawal from your reputation account. The small kindnesses compound into they're always thoughtful. The consistent reliability becomes you can always count on them. The pattern of putting others first becomes they genuinely care about people. But negative patterns compound too. Chronic lateness becomes they don't respect other people's time. Taking credit becomes they're not trustworthy. Small betrayals become they'll throw you under the bus. Consider the relationship deposit account concept. Every positive interaction is a deposit, every negative one is a withdrawal. Your reputation is your account balance, and bankruptcy happens slowly, then suddenly. Rule 92. Time reveals character, pressure reveals temperament. Anyone can maintain a facade for days, weeks, or even months. But time is the ultimate truth detector. Over years, your authentic patterns emerge. Your true priorities become clear, and your real character is revealed through consistency or inconsistency. Pressure accelerates this process. Crisis situations strip away pretenses and reveal what someone is really like when the stakes are high and time is short. The person who remains calm, honest, and collaborative under pressure has developed those qualities over time through practice. This is why hiring decisions should consider track records over interviews, why relationship decisions should observe patterns over promises, and why partnership decisions should examine behavior during previous challenges. If you want to know someone's character, don't listen to what they say they'll do. Watch what they consistently do over time, especially when things get difficult. Rule 93. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This isn't just a motivational cliche. It's backed by decades of research on social influence. Your income will approximate the average of your closest friends. Your habits will mirror those of your regular companions. Your attitudes will reflect your social circle's prevailing beliefs. This happens unconsciously through social proof, modeling, and normalization. If everyone around you accepts mediocrity, you'll gradually lower your standards. If everyone around you pursues excellence, you'll raise yours. If everyone around you thinks small, you'll think small. If they think big, you will too. Conduct a relationship audit. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Are they growing or stagnating? Are they positive influences or energy drains? Are they expanding your possibilities or limiting them? This doesn't mean you should abandon struggling friends or only associate with successful people. It means being intentional about who influences your daily thinking, habits, and aspirations. Seek mentors who've achieved what you want to achieve. Join communities aligned with your values and goals. Your social circle is more than companionship. It's programming for your subconscious mind. Rule 94. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Regret about missed opportunities can paralyze you from taking action on current opportunities. The time you wasted, the chances you didn't take, the decisions you got wrong. Dwelling on these prevents you from making better decisions now. You can't change your past, but your past doesn't have to determine your future. Every day is a fresh start. Every moment is a new beginning. Every choice is a chance to redirect your trajectory. The person you were yesterday doesn't have to be the person you are today. This applies to everything. Relationships you want to repair, skills you want to develop, habits you want to change, dreams you want to pursue. The fact that you're late getting started is irrelevant compared to the fact that you can still start. 20-year-olds think they have unlimited time, so they procrastinate. 40-year-olds think they've missed their chance, so they give up. Neither perspective serves growth. The truth is simpler. You have exactly the time you have left, and that time is valuable regardless of how much has already passed. Stop mourning the tree you didn't plant 20 years ago. Start planting the tree that will shade your future self 20 years from now. Rule 95. Wisdom without action is just entertainment. You can listen to every podcast, read every self-help book, and attend every seminar, but none of it matters if you don't change your behavior. Knowledge becomes wisdom only through application. Until then, it's just sophisticated procrastination disguised as self-improvement. The most frustrated people I know are information addicts who consume endless content about changing their lives while never actually changing their lives. They can quote every productivity guru, but still struggle with basic time management. They know every relationship principle, but still repeat the same destructive patterns. Implementation beats information every time. One small action taken consistently will transform your life more than 1,000 insights you never apply. The person who reads one book and applies its lessons completely will benefit more than the person who reads 50 books and applies nothing. Stop collecting wisdom like trophies. Start using it like tools. The 24-hour implementation rule. Whenever you learn something valuable, commit to taking one specific action within 24 hours. This bridges the gap between knowing and doing. Rule 96. Your future self is created by today's micro-decisions. Every choice you make today, how you spend your morning, what you eat for lunch, how you respond to stress, whether you keep that small promise to yourself, is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. Your future self is the cumulative result of thousands of tiny decisions that seemed inconsequential in the moment. The person who chooses to read for 10 minutes instead of scrolling social media is voting for a more knowledgeable future self. The person who chooses to have a difficult conversation instead of avoiding conflict is voting for better relationships. The person who chooses to save $5 instead of buying something unnecessary is voting for financial security. These micro-decisions compound exponentially over time. The daily choice to walk for 20 minutes becomes cardiovascular health over decades. The daily choice to learn something new becomes expertise over years. The daily choice to be kind becomes a reputation for compassion over a lifetime. Your habits are your future self's autobiography. What story are your daily choices writing? Are you proud of the person your current decisions are creating? Rule 97. Perfection is the enemy of progress, but standards still matter. The pursuit of perfection paralyzes action, but the abandonment of standards enables mediocrity. The key is finding the sweet spot. High standards with flexible execution. Aim for excellence, not perfection. Excellence means doing your best with the resources you have available right now. Perfection means waiting until you have ideal conditions, complete knowledge, and guaranteed outcomes, which never come. The 80% rule. If something is 80% ready, ship it. You'll learn more from real-world feedback than from theoretical perfection. But this doesn't mean accepting sloppy work or cutting important corners. It means distinguishing between excellence and perfection, between good enough and giving up. Start before you're ready. Improve as you go. Iterate based on feedback. This approach creates momentum, generates learning, and produces results, while perfectionism creates paralysis, generates anxiety, and produces nothing. Rule 98. The only approval that matters is your own, but that approval must be earned. External validation is addictive but unreliable. Other people's opinions change based on their mood, their circumstances, and their own insecurities. Building your sense of self-worth on external approval is like building a house on quicksand. But this doesn't mean you should ignore feedback or stop caring about your impact on others. It means developing internal standards that are independent of external opinions while remaining open to constructive input. Self-approval isn't about lowering your standards or accepting mediocrity from yourself. It's about becoming your own reliable source of validation based on whether you're living according to your values, keeping your commitments, and growing toward your potential. Ask yourself, if no one else ever recognized your efforts, would you still be proud of how you're living? If you could only have approval from others or approval from yourself, which would you choose? Your answer reveals whether you're living authentically or performing for an audience. Rule 99. Every ending is also a beginning. Choose what begins next. Life is a series of chapters, not one continuous story. Relationships end, jobs change, phases of life complete, dreams evolve. The end of something isn't failure, it's transition. What matters is how consciously you choose what comes next. Most people let life happen to them during transitions. They drift from one phase to the next without intention, carrying old patterns into new situations, repeating familiar mistakes in unfamiliar contexts. Conscious people use endings as opportunities for reinvention. They ask, what do I want to carry forward from this experience? What do I want to leave behind? Who do I want to become in this next chapter? Every transition is a chance to edit your life story. You can keep the characters, plot elements, and themes that serve you while discarding those that don't. You can change your role from victim to hero, from supporting actor to protagonist, from following someone else's script to writing your own. The question isn't whether change will happen. It will. The question is whether you'll participate consciously in directing that change. Rule 100. The best version of yourself is not a destination, it's a direction. There is no finish line for personal development, no final achievement that makes you complete, no ultimate state of perfection to reach. The best version of yourself isn't something you become, it's something you're always becoming. This is liberating because it means you don't have to wait until you're fixed to start living fully. You don't need to reach some imaginary standard of worthiness before pursuing your dreams, building relationships, or contributing to the world. You're already worthy of love, success, and happiness exactly as you are right now. And you're also capable of growth, improvement, and positive change. Both things are simultaneously true. The direction matters more than the destination. Are you moving toward courage or away from it? Toward honesty or away from it? Toward connection or away from it? Toward contribution or away from it? Progress isn't linear. You'll have setbacks, plateaus, and periods of confusion. But as long as your general trajectory is toward becoming more authentic, more kind, more capable, and more connected, you're succeeding at the most important game in life. Growth is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be embraced. The person you are today is not broken and in need of fixing. They're developing and worthy of investment. The best version of yourself isn't waiting at the end of some self-improvement journey. It's emerging right now through every conscious choice you make to grow, contribute, and love more fully. These 100 rules aren't commandments to follow perfectly. They're invitations to live more consciously. They're tools to help you navigate the complexity of being human with greater wisdom, compassion, and effectiveness. Take what serves you. Leave what doesn't. Most importantly, remember that knowing these truths is only the beginning. Living them is where the real work and the real rewards begin.